This is News and Notes. I'm Farai Chideya.
Hey, you Burning Man, ain't you?
Hey, brother, how you doing?
Oh, Burning Man, I ain't ate in 2 weeks, brother.
You kidding?
2 weeks?
That's two.
Hey, it's been so long, brother, I forgot what food tastes like anymore.
Man, you know what? I wouldn't even worry about
No, why not?
it. Because it still tastes the same.
Oh,
That was actor and comedian Bernie Mac. Unfortunately, he passed away Saturday morning from complications from pneumonia. He was just 50 years old. His self-named hit, The Bernie Mac Show, aired on Fox for 5 seasons. It scooped up a series of awards and nominations for its cast and crew. One of them went to the show's executive producer and writer, Larry Wilmore. He won an Emmy for outstanding writing for a comedy series. Larry, thanks for coming on to tell us more about Bernie.
Sure, it's my pleasure.
So, what did you two want to do with the idea of the black family and making it funny, not, trying to belabor things, but there was a lot of meat to this show.
Yeah, I think the word that we used a lot was authentic. We wanted something to feel authentic, look authentic, and for me and Bernie, it was really important that he be in a loving relationship with his wife. That's what I really wanted to see on TV. These two people who were there for each other, and that the conflict was with these children who he considered terrorists. And Bernie loved that thought, that he does not negotiate with terrorists. And that was really every single scene of that show is about negotiating with terrorists, that's what the kids represented. The difference being that he loved those kids to death, that they were really like his kids.
Well, I want to play us just a little bit more from one of the first episodes.
This is our home, but this is my house. Me castle is me castle. Close your mouth, boy. Second, in my house is all my stuff. And you are not to touch my stuff without my permission. Let me break it down. Don't touch my TV. Don't touch my DVD. Don't touch my dual deck VCR. And most definitely don't touch the remote that works the TV, the DVD, and the dual deck VCR. Any questions?
Can we touch?
No, you can't touch nothing. Matter of fact, don't even look at it. When you walk past it, close your eyes.
I think that speaks to what you were just saying. So how did you two connect? You've been in the entertainment industry for quite a while. We've had you on the show before, and you've done so many things, but how did you two specifically connect?
Well, I was doing a show called The PJs with Eddie Murphy, and we would have to go record Eddie wherever he was. And he was doing the movie Life. And we were waiting in his trailer out there, just like, little helpers just waiting for Eddie Murphy, the big star. And I decided I was tired of waiting, and I walked out onto the lot. They were on location. And in front of one of the dressing rooms was sitting Bernie Mac, just sitting out there by himself. And I was like, man, that's Bernie Mac, and I always wanted to meet him. So I went over and I said, hey, Bernie, how's it going? And Bernie just right away just went, hey, man, how you doing? I mean, he had such a great just attitude. And I was like, Bernie, I always wanted to meet you. And he was like, pleased to meet you too, man. I said, how's it going today? He said, Larry, it's great, man. I'm outside. I'm working. Life is great. He had such this positive attitude. And it was so striking. It wasn't like a jaded Hollywood attitude. He was just positive. He was happy to be working. He was loving where he was. He was a guy who just loved being alive. That was what I got from him. And I told him at that time that I would love to write something for him at some point, and I think he thought I meant his stand-up, but I was like, no, I want to write something for you, I really saw something in him even then. I didn't know what it would be. It would be a couple of years later until I found what the idea would be,
You say he loved life, and he had been ill of late. It's unclear whether or not his passing was directly related to some of the health problems he'd been having, but do you have a sense of whether he was able to maintain his joy in life, even as things became perhaps more physically challenging?
Well, I hadn't talked to Bernie in a while, but I'm sure he had. I mean, that's just the way that he lived, He was always positive. I left the show, in the second year I was fired, and
you say that just
I know
so calmly. I guess that's a Hollywood thing.
To not open that up right now. But I went back to the show a couple years later. We were doing the DVD, and at that time, Bernie was very sick. You know, they had oxygen tanks on the set and everything. I don't think anyone knew how sick he was. He was on steroids. Apparently, I think he had taken some medication that was the wrong medication that they prescribed. It was something like that that led to a series of complications, and he got really sick. But he was still working like a dog. I mean, I couldn't believe how hard he was working, and he could barely walk sometimes during this. And I was shocked because I hadn't seen him in a while. And you know, he kind of filled me in on what was going on, and still had that positive attitude. You know, didn't matter, even though he would take some breaths of oxygen in between us talking. You know, I couldn't believe this guy. You know.
Let's talk a little bit about his stand-up. He got into hot water for using spicy language at a Barack Obama fundraiser. So what was this? Describe a little bit of how you see his stand-up side.
Bernie's stand-up was magic, is the word that I have to use. The thing that struck me the most, when he was in Kings of Comedy, I mean, all those comedians were funny, but Bernie's act was magic. It was something a little different. When he talked about those kids and, you know, I want my milk and cookies, you know.
I'm going upstairs, he coming down, he gonna walk past me like I'm a visitor. I said, where you going? He said, to get some milk and cookies. He said it so funny, I wanted to hear it again. I said, get some what? He said, some milk and cookies.
And the way that he embraced the audience as a family, that's what really struck me. That's when I actually got the idea to do that as a TV show. When he said, he was in Charlotte, North Carolina, he said, Charlotte, we're family. Come on, we can talk. We're family. I thought, man, that is so great. He makes everybody feel like that, you know. And so in the show, when he said, America, we're family. We can talk. You know, I wanted that same kind of intimacy. But one word to describe his stand-up is magic. That's what Bernie Mac was as far as I'm concerned.
How do you think it is, yourself being a performer and a writer, an executive producer, having all sorts of things in the hopper, being on The Daily Show right now? How is it as someone who is a comedian to balance these different things? Because Bernie Mac also was in Ocean's 11. He had a lot of different aspects that he was trying to balance. What is that world like, trying to use different aspects of your talent?
I don't know. I think you just kind of do it. You know, you just, there are things that you like to do. The important thing is having a balance. One thing that struck me about Bernie was he was a real family man that I think a lot of people didn't realize. He was married for, 25 years or something like that? I mean, really long time. Very close to his daughter, too. And I think having that balance allows you to take chances and, you know, go for those things and to do other things, you know. Because it's really tough to do any of them. But I think when you have some balance, you have enough confidence to try to do as many as you want. You know.
When you think about the ripple effects, you know, there's so many black comics of all ages, all levels of experience. What kind of ripple effects do you think he leaves?
Well, I mean, Bernie's legacy is certainly, boy, I mean, I'm sure that there's a whole young generation of comics we probably haven't even seen yet that have been influenced by Bernie Mac and his charisma and his style. And we'll see in that next 5, 10, 15 years who's going to come around we're going to see that influence of Bernie, you know. But, you know, Bernie was loved by his peers, you know, and those young people alike, you know. Everybody really loved and respected what he could do. We were all pretty much in awe of his talent. Yeah.
Well, Larry, as always, it's good to talk to you. Thank you for coming in.
Sure, my bet. Thank you.
Comedian and television producer Larry Wilmore was a writer and the executive producer of The Bernie Mac Show. He's also an on-air personality for The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. We hope to catch up with him during the conventions. And he joined me here in the studios of NPR West.